Back in Queen Victorian times, women weren't allowed to vote, even though we had a female king. So some women formed a gang called the Suffragettes. The Suffragettes did things that were considered shocking at the time, like throwing themselves in front of the king's racehorse. They did this partly to highlight how unfair it was that women didn't have a vote but horses did. And also because being women, they really liked ponies. They also went on hunger strike, sparking the cool fad for women's diets that continues to this day. If it wasn't for the Suffragettes, I probably wouldn't be standing here now. I'd be in a kitchen, where I belong. Despite all that, today a woman's half as likely to earn over £50,000 a year than a man. And to add insult to injury, that money will most likely have a picture of a man on it, because most banknotes don't have women on them, apart from the Queen, who's on all of them. Hello, who are you?
I'm Mary Evans. I'm a Centennial Professor at the Gender Institute at the London School of Economics.
Can a feminist wear makeup?
Well, I'm wearing it at the moment, and so I would think that's perfectly possible.
But if they found out, they might cast you out, do you think?
I'm not sure who would cast me out. I don't think people go around casting people out.
When a feminist looks in the mirror, do they see an equal woman or a better woman?
They quite often, like all of us, look for what they want to see, and they look for what they hope to see.
You see yourself back to front, don't you, in a mirror? But not upside down. Why is that?
Well, hopefully, because that's the way that mirrors are designed.
What power's a mirror? Sorry, you're not the mirrors expert, are you?
I'm afraid not.
Men in vans still whistle at women in the street, though thanks to feminism, the man in the van might be a woman, and the woman they're whistling at might be a prime minister. For centuries of millennia, man lived outdoors, hunting deer and nuts. Then one day, it must have rained, and man discovered a new place, indoors. This is the National Theatre. It's designed to look so horrible that people are glad to be inside watching boring plays. Who are you?
I'm Ian Borden. I'm a Professor of Architecture at University College London.
What is a building?
A building is anything that anyone has built.
So my shoes are a building?
There may not be a building. They're a physical object. I guess a building is also something that people in some way live in or inhabit.
Right. My nephew makes buildings in Minecraft. How much more does he need to do to be considered a qualified architect?
Well, to be a qualified architect in this country, you have to study 5 years at university and do at least 2 years in professional practice.
And how many of those years would be studying Minecraft?
Very few of them. You could continue looking at Minecraft at the same time, but you wouldn't normally use Minecraft as part of an architectural education.
Do you ever watch Homes Under the Hammer?
No, I don't, no.
You don't watch Homes Under the Hammer?
I've never seen it, no.
You've never seen Homes Under the Hammer?
I've never seen Homes Under the Hammer.
Why not? You must have heard about it.
I haven't heard about it, no.
Don't you and the other architects talk about it?
It's not a subject that's ever come up, no.
I think you'd enjoy it. I think you'd get a lot out of it.
I shall go and have a look, yes.
Yeah, I think you should. Maybe one day, human beings won't need buildings anymore. Although, for that to happen, we'd probably need to evolve skins made of bricks. And that might take at least another 30 years. No wonder time is such a mystery. Literally no one can understand it apart from science men. One science man who knows all about time is this science man. Hello, science man, who are you?
I'm Dr. Stuart Clark. I'm an astronomy writer and a Fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society.
What is time?
We don't actually know. There are a couple of possibilities. Either time could be a physical thing that flows like a river, or it could be more of a psychological thing.
When you say it's like a river, what do you mean?
I mean that time it flows like the water in the river, and that the events in our lives are like things in the river that water encounters.
Like fish and stuff?
Yes.
You know when you store time on a clock, how do you get it back out again? Because when I was winding my watch up, I accidentally put it forward, so I'd got 2 hours more in my clock. But then I put it back, but I thought, is it still in there? Is the time still in the clock?
So your watch doesn't actually measure time.
Well, it does, because it's accurate.
It measures the oscillation of a crystal. And the change in the physical state of that crystal has to happen in what we call a certain amount of time. So from one moment to another, physical systems everywhere in the universe changes its state. And that change takes place in what we call time. And that's the only way we can infer the existence of time. But actually what time is, we don't know.
Right. So, even the people who understand time don't understand what time is. 1,000,000 years ago, Nostradamus predicted the world would end in a huge mess called a apocalypse. The word apocalypse is posh dictionary code for the end of days. And the end of days means sunset, which happens all the time. That's probably why the world didn't end, just because Nostradamus said it would. She wrote, "The world to an end will come in 1881, a claim which has recently been debunked by experts through a careful process of looking around and seeing the world still here."
So we think the Earth will get incinerated.
Do you think we might be able to do something about it?
Stop it being incinerated?
Yeah, stop it being incinerated. Or the sun burning the Earth. Can't we put it out with a big hose or something?
It's an inevitable consequence of the laws of nature. I mean, also, the Andromeda Galaxy is going to hit us.
The Andromeda Galaxy? A whole galaxy is going to hit us?
Yeah. On about the same timescale, actually. So as the sun runs out of fuel and expands and incinerates the Earth, a galaxy of 400 billion stars is going to collide with us.
You're much gloomier than I expected, because you're quite smiley.
Well, yeah, well, it's quite a long time in the future.
So after the universe ends, there'll be nothing.
Depends what you mean by after the universe ends.
When it's exploded.
Well, it's not going to explode. It's going to, we think,
melt.
Carry on expanding.
Right, and then...
Forever.
Well, that'll be fine, won't it? We need the space.
You get to the point, if it carries on doing that, then galaxies get ripped apart, and then solar systems get ripped apart, and then even planets get ripped apart, and even atoms get ripped apart.
But so what?
All the stars will die. Even all the black holes that are left, the final sort of end points of the most massive stars will evaporate away.
So could we fall down a black hole?
Yeah, you could fall into one.
Is that the same? Because I heard that you could be, if, you know, this is one way that the world could end, is that we're all just sucked off through a hole. I mean, that must be terrible. Can you imagine what it would feel like to be sucked off through a hole?
Yeah.
But there's no point sitting around worrying about the apocalypse when what we should be really scared of is Armageddon. What's more, so many dinosaurs were burned for steam trains that nowadays there's almost no dinosaurs left. Good afternoon. What are you?
My name's Andy Watson. I'm a marine, atmospheric and climate scientist.
It's getting hotter, isn't it? But how can we stop ourselves from turning into steam? What do we do? Should we just start eating more salad and stuff like that? It's almost unbelievable that before Charles Darwin invented evolution in 1859, no one had ever evolved. Without him, none of us would be here today, except in the form of fossils or gibbons. Even today, many people still don't believe in evolution, but maybe a science man can put them right. Hello, science man. Who are you and what are you an expert in or on?
I'm Mark Thomas and I'm a Professor of Evolutionary Genetics at University College London.
If we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
Because some of those monkeys that lived a long time ago turned into other monkeys that we see today, like chimp monkeys and so on.
All right. So the monkeys that didn't turn into humans, they must be gutted that they didn't turn into humans. It's hard to believe in, like electricity or skeletons. But one day, maybe we'll evolve eyes that can see evolution, and that'll prove it's real. 1 in 20 people has been a victim of crime, which means that 19 out of 20 people are criminals. No wonder we need police. Once the police had been invented, victims of crime knew who to ask for help because of their special hats, designed to be visible at a distance by people being murdered in the London fog. When they do reconstructions, you know, on telly, they're dead convincing, aren't they? Have any of them sort of, like, got a bit out of hand and turned back into an actual crime?
Not to my knowledge, no.
It must have happened. Must have.
Probably not. They're relatively highly...
It probably has happened, though.
We'd probably have heard of that if it had happened.
All right, OK. So, if there wasn't police, we'd be able to do what we liked, which is great. But then the police wouldn't be able to do what they liked, which is be the police. And that would be against their human rights. So what is money? Put simply, money is the best way we have of telling how much money you've got. Over the centuries, many things have been used as money, including amber, wheat, eggs, travellers' checks, feathers, book vouchers, lobsters, beads, gold, leather, nectar points, rice, peas, mugs and money. It was only the last of these that caught on. Increasingly these days, money isn't something you can hold in your hand or bite on like a pirate, because it's stored in the imaginations of computers. And some of those computers are probably here in the Bank of England. Who are you and why are you an expert on money?
I'm Will Hutton, I'm an economist and I'm an economic writer.
Money's all stored in computers these days, isn't it? Yeah. How does a computer know what money looks like? How does it know?
Well, how does it recognise anything? How does a computer recognise, you know,
So you don't know?
It's, you know in principle, but you don't know in detail, no.
Do you know what I think's happened? Someone's told a computer what money looks like. They've gone up to a computer and they've said, this is like a £5 note. And then that computer's told the others. When you have a coin, where is the money in that coin? If I were to take a coin and cut it open, could I take the money out of that coin and then it'd be empty?
No, the coin is a token. The whole point about the coins in your pocket is they're universally accepted as a way of buying things. That's what the money is.
How much does it cost to make a 1p piece? Because if it's less than 1p, then it's a con, isn't it? But if it's like more than 1p, then do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of not worth it then.
Yeah. It costs a tiny amount of money to create a 1p piece, and that's
so
not
they're ripping us off. 400 years ago this year, the world-famous playwright William Shakespeare stopped happening. I've been studying Shakespeare ever since I was asked to do this programme, and it turns out he's more than just a bald man who could write with feathers. And the story of whether he was the best at writing ever is more interesting than you'd imagine. You'd think that would make plays the most realistic form of entertainment in existence, but instead, they're nothing like real life at all. And that's because everyone shouts.
Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue.
Not proper shouting, like when a bus won't let you on, or shouting because of an emotion. In plays, people shout no matter how they're feeling, because they put the seats too far away. Nevertheless, there's plenty of violence and bloodshed, and an iconic scene in which Macbeth is startled at dinner by the unexpected appearance of Banquo's ghost, played here for some reason by the letter H.
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy Goldilocks at me.
By now, Shakespeare had built a considerable body of work, which is collected in something called the First Folio. This is the actual book that Shakespeare wrote with his bare hands. The only remaining copy of any of his plays It's amazing to think that if anything happened to this, the entire works of Shakespeare will be lost forever. So before I touch it, I need to put on special white gloves.
Well, we don't actually need to wear white gloves, Philomena.
Oh.
The advice we have and the best practice we follow is not to wear gloves because you lose the sensitivity in your fingers and you're more likely to damage the book by wearing gloves than not. Now. Well, if you've got clean hands, we'd say take the gloves off and we don't need them at all.
Well, I've brought them, so...
It's very good of you to bring them, but we don't need them and we can't let you turn the pages of the book if you've got them on.
Simon Sharma gets to wear gloves.
But he doesn't wear them here.
Why not?
Because when we're handling books and documents, we don't need to wear gloves at all.
So what's the difference between a book and a folio?
A folio's the name that's given to the paper that's in the book, so it implies it's been folded once, which is where the name folio comes from.
So why don't we just call it a book?
We can call it a book. That's absolutely fine.
You know when you read a word in a book and you sort of hear that word in your head, how do they get the sounds into the ink to make it play in your head?
Well, what they're doing is they've got all the words sort of written down and spelled out, and they put those letters into the printing process and then print them on the page. And then it's as you're reading it, you're making the sounds in your head.
You can hear them talking, can't you?
Yeah, because you know what the words mean and how they sound. You can then play it back to yourself, if you like.
Like this man, the fictional English teacher from TV drama Educating Yorkshire. When you teach your kids Shakespeare, do their heads grow physically bigger?
No, they don't, no.
How does iambic pentameter work?
I think you're talking about iambic pentameter, which is the way that kind of...
Iambic pentameter?
Pentameter, yeah.
Pentameter.
Well, pentameter, so... It would be a line of prose that would have 10 syllables with 5 particular stresses on.
Not pentameter?
No, not pentameter, no, it's pentameter.
Right. Someone told me I was misinformed. It's fine.
Who told you?
Someone.
Oh, right. No, it's pentameter, yeah. Iambic pentameter, just to clarify.
He died on his birthday, which must have been depressing for his family, who would have had to finish his cake with tears in their little Shakespearean eyes. We don't know what Shakespeare's last words were. Probably made up ones. Nobody wrote them down, so they couldn't have been all that. I used to think Shakespeare was stuffy and pointless and not for me. But exploring his world and works for the past half hour has really brought him to life. So I'm gutted he's just died. He remains the best and only bard this country has ever produced. Good night, sweet prince. I'm loving angels instead. How do they make chickens into turkeys?
Turkey and chicken are 2 separate birds.
You're joking me?
No.
What was the winter solstice?
It's the winter solstice.
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 You got it. It's that magical time, midwinter and midsummer, when the sun seems to stand still. To the eye, it appears to stop moving along the horizon.
Well, you're not meant to look at it, are you? Because it hurts your eyes.
You can look at it when it rises and you can look at it when it sets. Then you can.
No, you can't. It makes you go blind.
You can. Trust me, you
can't.
can.
That's probably why you've got glasses. Medicines means we can treat everything from made-up diseases like the plague to modern epidemics like allergicness to bread. Doctors are working on this as we speak, and even when we're not speaking, because some of them work nights.
My name is John Martin, and I'm a doctor.
Why can't we get medicine crisps? You know, because no one likes needles, and everyone likes crisps.
Well, there's a thing called the risk-benefit ratio. So whenever we do anything to a patient, we have to weigh up the harm we're doing as opposed to the good we're doing. And there's always a downside. And if we had medicine crisps, I think the amount of carbohydrate and fats and salt we'd be taking in with the crisps would outweigh the good that's done by the medicine. So I think that's a very good idea, actually.
Right. And like, if you had like Monster Munch, that wouldn't work as well as medicines.
Sorry, Monster Munch. Could you explain that to me?
It's like a puffy crisp. They're lovely. You can get like pickled onion and beef.
Right. Again, I'd have to weigh up the risk-benefit ratio of, what did you call the monster?
Monster Munch.
Monster Munch, mixed with the medicine, the bad it would do versus the good.
Right. They say that laughter's the best medicine, but if that were true, why do so many comedians die of cancer? Perhaps they weren't funny enough. It's a sobering thought, and that's useful because many comedians are also alcoholics.